What is genre? What is genre? Find out. That's what we're talking about today. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights about all things books and publishing with you. Before I get into the details about today's topic, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll be notified each week when I put out new videos about publishing, making a career out of being an author, and now being a mompreneur. Today we are embarking on a journey. A genre journey, if you will. I've been talking about making this series for a while, and it's starting today, right now. I'm going to be talking all about book genres, the subtle distinctions between them, the massive and expansive breadth of some of them, and the debates about which ones should stay or go. I'll still be doing my usual self-publishing tips and author business videos interspersed, so this doesn't just become like a genre channel, but over the next several months, I'll be talking about all these different genre elements as well. So if you have a specific genre question or a comparison you'd like to see me discuss, please comment below, and I'll continue the series as long as you all want me to. Now, there's a couple reasons why I'm so interested in breaking this down and kind of departing from my usual content. So I'll leave you a little note. You can skip ahead just to get to the meat of the video. But for those of you who usually watch my channel, like MK, you don't usually talk about craft and things like that. Like what's the deal here? So a few reasons. So one, I read across all genres. I generally enjoy reading multiple genres of fiction and even nonfiction. And so because I'm an omnivorous reader, that kind of leads me to my second point of why I'm doing this series is that I write across genres, right? And I actually put them all under one pen name, which I know is not a best practice. Like the best practice is to have a different pen name for different distinct genres because it helps the audience know what to expect. It helps the algorithms know what to recommend. And I am knowingly going against that. So I have a lot of thoughts on different genres that I write in, and I definitely wanted to kind of explore that with you guys today because I know a lot of you also have that. And the third reason is I see a lot of booktube and authortube channels do videos about the genre I hate or the tropes that need to die in 2023 or some noise like that. And bless their hearts, but who cares? Not every book is for every reader. And like, cool, there's genres that you don't like, there's genres that I don't like, but I'm not here to pass judgment on any genres or tropes or subgenres. I want to talk about the history and nuance behind this because perhaps as an author, you're thinking like my book could fit into this genre, but also this one, which do I pick? And that's often where I find myself. So that's kind of what I really want to talk about. And if you are interested in that kind of a discussion on genres, stick around for this series. Now, in this video, as well as others in the series, I'm actually going to have to go outside my direct experience and knowledge base and rely on others. So I'm going to have links to all my sources below in the description, and I'll pop them up as best as I can during the video as well. Because usually my videos are, hey, I did this. Here you can see me doing the thing, and this is how I learned the thing that I'm telling you. But in this case, I actually had to do some more research, like academic research. So with all of that said, let's dive in. And the first thing is, what is the definition of genre? So Wikipedia, the knowledge of the crowd, says genre fiction, also known as popular fiction, is a term used in the book trade for fictional works written with the intent of fitting into a specific literary genre in order to appeal to readers and fans already familiar with that genre. I don't love that definition because it uses the word in the definition. And I'm going to get to that a bit later about how there's genre categorization of things and genre fiction, which is different. But it seems like that Wikipedia definition is really just talking about genre fiction and not the overarching concept of genre. That's why I like the Oxford English Dictionary definition a bit better. Genre is any category of literature, music, or other forms of art or entertainment, whether written or spoken, audio or visual, based on some set stylistic criteria. Genres are formed by conventions that change over time as new genres are invented and the use of old ones are discontinued. Often, works fit into multiple genres by way of borrowing and recombining these conventions. Now, I really like that because in addition to reading across literary genres, I also like to listen across musical genres. And I think this definition definitely encompasses that it's not just about books, it is about different forms of art. And that is really just how we categorize things. Now, obviously, there's an argument to me, like, why do we need to categorize things? If you like it, you like it. But it is a way to help people understand, like, if they truly, like, I just want to read XYZ right now, I'm in the mood to read something lighthearted, something fun, something dark, they can easily find that. And I think that does help things, and it helps, like, how our brains work. Our brains automatically categorize things like food, not food, danger, not danger, you know, like romance, fantasy. So it helps. Now, when we think about some of the most popular literary genres, there are things that you expect, right? Like romance has to have a meet cute. Mystery has to have a mystery. Fantasy has to have some supernatural element, be it magic, animals, monsters, some hybrid thereof. But what do we do when there's a meet cute in a magical realm that occurs just before a murder that needs to be solved? What genre is that then? And that's some of the things we're going to be talking about in this series of when it's like, okay, well, clearly this is the overarching defining feature of this book. And yes, there's these other elements in there, but it really just fits solidly within in this category. And there's even sub genres within the genres that kind of define like, oh, like this is YA romance, this is YA fantasy, this is fantasy romance. Like there are hybrids that show that there is a combination between the two. Now, when was genre first defined and used to categorize books and art? Like when did this all start? Like who put this together? So the concept of genres originated in ancient Greece, as all good ideas have. Now, some sources I found cited both Aristotle and Plato, others just Aristotle, with the original method of categorizing literature. Now, there were even discrepancies that I saw as to the original set of genres. So some sources said there were only 3 genres, which was poetry, drama, and prose, while other sources stated that rhetorical works were classified as deliberate, forensic, and epidictic. Good luck with that one. While poetic works were classified as epic, tragedy, and comedy. Either way, genres have proliferated multiple times in many beautiful ways since then. But it's interesting to think about distilling our current list of like all these genres that exist into these original categories and archetypes, right? So according to Readsy, there are about 50 genres, each with distinct subgenres, and Amazon has over 16,000 categories for books. Now, obviously, the categorization in Amazon drills much deeper than in, say, book industry standards and communications, their BSAC codes, which are some larger genre categories. So yeah, that's fun. So within all of these categories and subgenres, you have your main overarching fiction and nonfiction genres. Some genres are often lumped together. So you'll often hear like science fiction, fantasy. So those are 2 genres that are often lumped together. And in my opinion, they both already have so many subgenres. They probably need to be kept separate, but there is also a lot of crossover. So yeah, it gets complicated pretty quickly. Now, some authors write squarely in one genre. Their detective procedural series is a mystery. Boom. Their space exploration series is science fiction. Boom. But there are, for lack of a better term, shades of gray here. And I think there's often this caricature of the author who says, but my book defies genre. And I'm not saying that all authors that think that seriously are clueless about genre, but some of the most fun and exciting books bend the lines between genres. Like they're doing something really cool and interesting and it works, and therefore it is kind of hard to say like, well, is it sci-fi or is it fantasy? Or is it science fiction fantasy or is it both? And so I think if you are finding it difficult to classify your genre, it's maybe a sign that you're doing something pretty cool, but ultimately you do need to define it. So I think this kind of starts to lead us down the rabbit hole of genre fiction versus literary fiction, where we see some of these lines blurred. So the biggest thing in defining genre, and along with it genre fiction, is this ongoing battle between genre fiction and like capital L literary fiction. So we writers, people who like using the exact word for something, have genre, the overarching concept of categorizing books, and then we have genre fiction, which is one of the 2 major divides in the fiction category, because we're insufferable. So what's the difference between genre fiction and literary fiction? Literature. So Readsy defines this difference as literary fiction is a category of novels that emphasize style, character, and theme over plot. Lit Fic, as it's called, is often defined in contrast to genre fiction and commercial fiction, which involve certain tropes and expectations for the storyline. Literary fiction has no such plot-based hallmarks. Now, listening to that definition, all I can think is if you don't have a plot for your story, you're up creek without a paddle. So it's not saying that literary fiction has no plot, although I've certainly read certain books where I just think, what's the point? Why am I here? Why do I care? And I think there are some authors who maybe take it too far to this like experimental, stylized, thematic book that has no plot. And I think that's certainly, again, a caricature of what literary fiction is, and not all lit fic is like that. Thank goodness. Writer.com defines the difference as the world of fiction writing can be split into two categories: literary fiction versus genre fiction. Literary fiction, lit fic, generally describes works that are character vision and realistic, whereas genre fiction generally describes works that's plot driven and based on specific tropes. So both of these articles that I found discuss the nuance between genre fiction and literary fiction, and it can be difficult to pinpoint sometimes. It's almost one of those things where, like, you'll know it when you see it. Now, some books have a very clear theme and follow a very strong character arc, but the setting and world building elements may put it squarely in genre fiction instead of literary. And that's, again, where it's like, you'll know it when you see it. And I could read off probably a dozen more definitions of literary fiction as compared to genre fiction, and they're all going to differ slightly. Now, I think the biggest thing to remember here is that one is not better than the other. I've interacted with authors who think one is better than the other, and they spend years whittling and tinkering on their literary manuscript, focused on styles and themes, and there's no story. And again, if your book has no story, regardless of genre or literary status, it's not a good book. It has to have a story. Like, why am I reading this? So as we embark on this exploration of genres and genre fiction, if you are someone who thinks only literary fiction matters, then this series and this channel aren't for you. So you can peace out. But I did want to call that distinction into place because I think there are certain readers who are like, I only want to read literary fiction, or I only want to read science fiction. I only want to read certain things. And that's totally fine. Like, we all know what our preferences are. And I think understanding that preference is going to help us have a better reading experience at the end of the day. So that all said, the genres I'm going to be breaking down in this entire series are going to be science fiction, women's fiction for the women folk, fantasy, romance, memoir and autobiography, young adult and new adult. But if there is more about genre, subgenre, and certain categories therein that you want to know more about, drop a suggestion in the comments of this video and I'll do a video on that one as well. All right, are you excited about this genre journey we're going to take over the next couple months? Did you find this video entertaining or at least informative? If so, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and maybe check out that thanks button. That lets YouTube know that you're getting value from this information so they can put it in front of other authors like us. And now you can get back to writing your book.